If you do a great job in breaking it down and including all the right things so that somebody else could actually read it, an 8-year-old could read the quote and go, oh, the next step is this, and this is included, and that's included, and this isn't included, and this isn't included. Anything that it falls into this category is a change order and an extra. If you don't have that broken down, guys, how in God's name are you, and again, we're only in number 3 out of 4, how in God's name is your team ever going to have the right information to run the job the way that it was quoted? They're not. So if you're chicken scratching your quotes just to get it off your plate, trust me, you're setting your team up for failure. Rex, sorry, I went on a bit of a rant with that one, but there you go, right?
No, it makes perfect sense.
Okay, number 4. What's number 4?
Number 4 would be, so we've covered off setting them up properly.
Yep.
Getting started, knowing your numbers, and then pushing through that job. And you got to help me with the 4th one, Andrew.
Until right now, this very moment, contractors have always been on their own, not as tradespeople, but being alone and knowing how to take their business to the next level. They call us working class, they call us blue collar. They say that we don't have the smarts to become the business owner that we're meant to be. That is such bullshit. You have the ability. You're more than any of that. The question really is, where do you get the insights that you need specific to contracting to systemize your business so you can get your profits to pay for your freedom? I'm Andrew Houston. I'm going to show you how to make more profits, how to get more control, how to get more freedom in the simplest, quickest way possible without any of that bullshit. Welcome to the No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors. Listen up, level up, and if you learn something, like the video, subscribe to the channel, change your business, change your life.
All right, Rockstars, it is go time. Welcome to another No Bullshit Podcast for contractors, not for everybody in the world, but for contractors. Why? Because they are the Rockstars, they're the best, and we love them. So we're going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, near and dear to Rick's heart. Rick, head of our coaching department. I'll get Rick to introduce himself in a second, but we're going to be going deep into an important topic. I don't care how big you are, what type of contractor you are. I don't give a shit where you're located in the world or how many team players you got. Pricing your jobs properly, profitably, and let's call it professionally is something that is a principle that all of us need to learn and master. Rick, welcome. How's it going, brother?
Thanks, Andrew. I'm awesome. Really good.
Tell everybody who you are and what you do at the Prof for Contractors as part of the family, part of the clan.
So, thanks. So, yeah, exactly. It is a family. So, I'm Rick Harris, the head of coaching at Prof for Contractors. Former general contractor, licensed plumber, ran a business with my family for a number of years, and here I am. So, yeah, I love doing what I'm doing. I really do.
So what makes you so passionate about, I mean, you came from the contracting space, you came from a family business, right? Harris Plumbing. What makes you so passionate about helping contractors? Then we're going to get into the goal here in just a minute, but tell me a little bit about that. Why do you do it?
Well, it all comes down to not wanting to see people make same mistakes that we made.
Yeah. As
a family-owned and operated business, and when we took over, and falling down the holes that we fell down, and knowing that, I've been through the experiences that you've been through. Right. Not knowing when the next paycheck was coming in, not knowing when the next job was coming in, hoping that we were priced right, hoping that the person that we hired was going to work out, hoping that the new client was going to be a good client. And if we can stop you from stealing from your family, stealing time and stealing money from your family, my mission is accomplished.
I love it, dude. I love it. So everybody listening in, that's what we're going to be talking about today. I mean, you guys have heard me say it before. It's one of my principles that I teach, I preach, I talk about, which is, being able to leapfrog decades the days and stop being so proud of doing it the hard way. It's a painful way. It's an unprofitable way. And painful not just for you and your team. It's also painful for your family and yourself, right? I mean, Rick, some of these things, even when we talk about pricing, if you don't get your pricing right, I mean, what's the consequences that you hear? I mean, Rick, we got thousands of champion CEOs, people that we work with and help. What are some of the consequences? You can even relate it back to when you were part of Harris, when you were in Harris Plumbing or what have you, or what you see from the amazing clients that they talk to us about as far as some of the problems, pain points, issues with pricing, not properly or profitably.
Well, from a personal perspective, dragging debt around behind you, not being able to pay bills, not being able to go on vacation with your family, not being able to take a day off and spend it with them because you've got to work Saturday to make up on a job or push into Sunday, stealing all that time away from them. And this is the one thing that you can never get back is the time. And what's costing you the time is the money. They're just all tied together. And you're stealing it just by not knowing what your pricing should be.
I mean, how many of you guys can you relate to that? Can you relate to some of these? What are some of the problems as well, beyond you relating to what Rick's saying? What are some of the problems that you have with pricing? What are some of the problems that it causes when you're not profitable, right? So I'm going to tell you just from my own experience, what ends up happening is you end up going into this crazy ass vicious cycle. And this cycle is basically, I need to price more work. I need to get more work. I need to get more work. And you think, you have this belief that if I get more sales, that's going to solve my problem. Rick, what happens when you don't have your pricing right and you have that mindset? And you did it. I did it. I used to brag about it. I remember sitting down at the fucking...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at the breakfast with the lads, other contractors, and all we talked about was like, hey, man, how much sales you got? Meanwhile, the more sales I got, the more what?
Problems.
More problems. More poverty.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and there's that saying there that, sales fixes everything. Well, no, it can actually magnify and amplify your problems. And you just think that if I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to take this, I'm run out of money on this job, so I'm going to go sell another job, so I can't take the deposit from that job to pay for the tail end of this job. And I think if I get more sales, I can land more work. And then you're celebrating this, and the next thing you know, and of course, whenever you're talking to anybody else in the business, it's like, how busy are you? Oh, I can't keep up. I got more work than I can handle. I'm just completely out of control. Anybody that calls me, I'm booked in. Right. We're booking out 6, 7. We're booked up for the whole month. We're booked up for the whole year, and they wear it as a badge of honor. But you're tied into those jobs that are not going to be profitable. You know, going in the back of your head, you're hoping. Let's hope this job goes well. Let's hope I priced it.
Yeah, you can't. Hope's not going to help you, man. Hope is not help. No. Hope is hell. Okay, honestly, hope is hell, guys. Okay, so
yeah.
So, how many of you guys can relate to you're in that vicious cycle? Like, type it in. Like, hey, that's me. Hey, I can relate to you. By the way, the first step, Rick, the first step of helping yourself is acknowledging that you need freaking help. Right? So as we're going through this, if you're in the group and you're listening in, acknowledge, guys, and this isn't for, it is for other people, because the minute that you start saying it's okay, it sort of gives permission to other people. So Rick and I are giving you permission to say it's okay that you need some help on this kind of stuff. Okay? So here's how you're going to know, and then we'll get into the gold. Here's some high level things to indicate if you should turn off this fucking podcast or you should keep listening to it. I'll go for one. Rick will go for one. We'll see how far we can go in the next couple of minutes here. Okay, we'll go one for one. I'll start. You're working. You're doing quotes at fucking night. You're doing quotes when you first wake up in the morning, and you got a stack of fucking quotes that you got to do on the weekend, and you just can't, no matter how many quotes you do, you just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into a hole. So that, if that's you might want to listen in on this one. Rick, over to you. What do you got?
Your accountant says you had a record year. You made $150,000 in profit, and your response inside your head is, "Where's the money?"
Oh, dude. Oh, dude, that's a good one. We hear that all the time. Hey, where did it go? Where's all my money? And by the way, everybody, listen, I want to say something, and I just caught myself. Okay, this is when I say no bullshit, I mean that. So I just caught myself. I was having these giggles and these laughs, but this is really serious. Okay. Rick and I can giggle about it a bit from our own experience and what we went through, sort of like laughing at ourselves. So don't take it the wrong way. We're basically laughing at ourselves of where we were at. And to be straight up, I'm not saying that you guys are this, but I was literally stupid. Like literally, I did not know what to do. So here's another one. Okay, every job that you quote, you wonder, did I quote it right? Did I include everything? Instead of knowing, oh man, I know I'm going to make this much money on that job, right? So Rick, back to you. Got another one? We'll end it up with this one.
Yeah, and further to your point, and okay, so further to your point, Andrew, I didn't go to I went to trade school. I did not go to business school.
Right.
So there's a certain amount of shame as a business owner knowing that I didn't know these things. So here's one for you. If you're taking a deposit from one job and dragging it over to clear off your subcontractors and your material, so because your vendors are phoning you saying, "Where's my money?" That's a problem. That's a serious problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, beautiful. So true. Okay, I gotta give one last final one. Is this: if you're not using your quote to run your jobs profitably and to control your jobs, then you need to be listening on this podcast. Okay, so we spent the first third of the podcast talking about whether or not you should be listening in. So by now you should know if you're hanging this sucker up or if you're going to be listening in for the rest of the gold. So let's get into, Rick, one of the things that you teach, one of the things that we call is this 4-step process to come up with have a profitable system. Tell us about that, this 4-step process.
Well, the step that you have to do is make sure that you're tracking your numbers. You have to know what your numbers are. You have to filter your clients out.
Okay, so one is you need to know your numbers. You need to filter out your clients. Another one?
Yeah.
What's another one?
You have to track it. You have to get these jobs started properly. Okay. They got to go out. They got to get start on the right foot.
Now, and by the way, when Rick says start on the right foot, let's talk about pricing here. You need to use your pricing as a project management tool. I will say this again. You need to use your pricing as a project management tool. How you quote your job and the details that you lay out is directly proportionate to how much control you're going to have when you're running the fucking job, when you're starting it, running it, and finishing it. If you do a great job in breaking it down and including all the right things so that somebody else could actually read it, an 8-year-old could read the quote and go, oh, the next step is this, and this is included, and that's included, and this isn't included, and this isn't included. Anything that falls into this category is a change order and an extra. If you don't have that broken down, guys, how in God's name are you, and again, we're only on number 3 out of 4, how in God's name is your team ever going to have the right information to run the job the way that it was quoted? They're not. Mm-hmm. So if you're chicken scratching your quotes just to get it off your plate, trust me, you're setting your team up for failure. Rex, sorry, I went on a bit of a rant with that one, but there you go, right?
No, it makes perfect sense.
Okay, number 4. What's number 4?
Number 4 would be, so we've covered off setting them up properly.
Yep.
Getting started, knowing your numbers, and then pushing through that job. And you got to help me with the 4th one, Andrew.
Okay, well, the 4th one is basically...
Give me the next one.
Yeah, so the 4th one, when we're looking at quoting, guys, you've got to make sure that when you do your quotes, okay, that your quotes are broken down by phases. Okay, I don't care. So we talked about the detail. That's one thing But the next thing that goes hand in hand with that detail is that you just don't want a big fucking bucket of detail. You need the detail to be broken down into different phases so that each phase is its own entity of profitability. And you're like, what are you talking about, Andrew? Well, I'm going to tell you. Even if you guys aren't electricians, I'm going to use an electrical one. Rick, you can use a plumbing one. I'm going to use an electrical one on a residential house, okay? So guys, when you go to wire a home, and by the way, I don't care if you're a fucking carpenter, a plumber, a drywaller, an insulator, I don't care. A finisher, it doesn't matter, okay? When an electrician is going to, and watch this, as soon as I go through this, you're going to go, that makes fucking sense. And even though you're not an electrician, it's going to make sense because these are principles because it's a principle makes sense no matter what kind of trade you are because it's a principle, okay? Just like breathing out and breathing in, you can't just breathe out, okay, and not breathe in because, well, you can try that, but you're going to have a fucking problem, okay? Because that's a principle. You have to breathe out and breathe in. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're located. If you're a human, that's what you have to do. It's a principle. So when you're running these jobs, when you're quoting these jobs, let's put it hand in hand. You just don't go and start pulling wire. No, you don't do that. There's the service. Yes, the service that has to be put on the side of the house. Everybody has it in their home. No matter if you have a commercial, industrial, residential, there's a service, okay? That's the thing that basically is where the power comes in to the home, and that's where the meter is, and that's where the town, the city, whatever goes, hey man, now you owe me this much money. Okay, everybody got it? That's a phase. Next phase, roughing it in. What do you mean? We're just gonna go and put on plugs and put on cover plates. No, there's a rough-in phase. That's different than the service. And after the rough-in phase is what? The finishing phase. Now, there's maybe some other phases that I could mention and go deeper in, but everybody can relate to this. There's the putting in the service, bringing in the power. There's running the wires, putting in the boxes. Then there's the finishing, right? Turning on the power, right? Making sure that everything's freaking working, making sure it passes code and all the rest of it. And then the people that can move in and live in a very safely wired home, okay? So when you go to price your jobs, guys, if you're not pricing your jobs in phases specific to your trade, and you mix it all together, the problem with that is what, Rick? What happens when you put it all together into one big bundle instead of like breaking it out into different phases?
Well, number one, you can't track it.
That's
number
it.
Two, billing, invoicing.
Right. How would you know what phase you're at if there's only one big fucking phase? Right? Mm-hmm. Now, instead of comparing, hey, how well the service got done, you're like, oh, how well did the fucking whole thing get done? Well, I don't know. What worked and what didn't work? Well, I don't know. The house got wired. Versus, no, they took too much time putting in the service. Oh, but yet they were super, super fast and roughing it in. Oh, but they were super, super slow in finishing it, or whatever the combination of that is. Now, guess what happens? Now, either you quoted certain phases properly, or you didn't quote certain phases properly, but now you can audit it like fucking, like the government will audit your taxes and your financials and shit. This is like, doing a little micro audit. So what I want you guys to do right now as you're listening in is I want you to just think, if you're driving in your truck, okay, whatever you're doing, I want you just to pick one type of work you do, because a lot of you guys do different types of work. Rick's going to talk about another piece of gold that you guys can apply, like live, okay? That's why it's no bullshit podcast. This is not about talking about crap that you can't use. This is talking about real stuff. So no matter what trade you're in, you're driving in your truck, you're at the office, or wherever you're at, think about, pick one type of work. Maybe it's commercial, maybe it's residential, maybe it's industrial or something else. And say to yourself, what are the phases? Write down those phases. There's not going to be 50 phases. Usually it's going to be single digit. And then look at the way you quote and go, do I quote this with these phases in mind? And Rick, how much, once you get it systematized in quoting with these phases, how much easier is this? Tell me about that. For somebody to quote.
Well, it's a whole, it's an entire process. You can know, and it's sequential. It makes sense. And I can't tell you the number of contractors that I talked to where they said, how much did you allow for the rough-in portion? Much did you allow for this portion? I don't know. We left it all together, and I'm going to collect 70% of the invoice, and we'll collect the. you don't know. You're just pulling numbers out of the air. And the issue is,
It's true.
the issue is, I've never, Andrew, I don't know about you, but I've never had it happen where if you go do a rough-in for a job, and then all of a sudden you never hear from the homeowner or the contractor again because they decided, oh, I can put the switches and the plugs and the rest of the stuff in by myself. And then good luck on collecting that last little portion, which is probably what you're thinking is your profit from the rough-in. And it just gets so muddled and impossible to track. Everything is just all a big jumble, and it's confusing, and you have no idea how you've made out on the job.
Dude, you nailed it. I mean, so look if you're listening in on this and you're like, I got so many different types of work, where do I start? How would they know what type of work if they had 5 different types of work that they do, right? How would they know which one to start with first, Rick? Mm-hmm. To start breaking it down in the phases?
From a client perspective, or going through an estimated scope of work.
You're coaching. No, you're coaching a client right now. You're coaching one of our champion COs, and they go, "Okay, Rick, this totally makes sense. I got 5 different types of work that I do. I do this type, this type, this type, this type, this type. Like, Rick, which one do I start working on and breaking down the phases? Because I can't break down the phases for every single one at the same time. Which one would I start with? Think about ice, right?
Oh, the one that you know, yeah, the one you know the best, the one that has the biggest impact, the one you have the most confidence in, the one that you can easily implement.
Okay, hold it, pause. Dude, that's like, you know your shit, okay, right? So if you look at ice, everybody listening in, he used an acronym. Okay, I in ice stands for what, Rick?
Impact.
Right. C stands for what?
Confidence.
Yeah. And E stands for what?
Ease of implementation.
Guys, so get that. Get that, right? Which is going to have the greatest impact that you've got the most confidence in. That means you're most familiar with. You're most right? That's going to be the easiest one for you to actually go after. Don't pick the most you might think, most of us, what do? We go for the biggest, most complicated thing. Oh man, if I solve that, I'm going to solve the world's problems. The problem you've got, what's the problem, Rick, when they start with the most complicated one versus the one that meets the ICE criteria?
You get stuck on it.
Yes. You
get stuck there. You never move past it.
Imagine Rick saying to somebody, guys, it's the same as saying to somebody that's never ridden a bicycle, hey, I need you to get on the track with this frickin' CBR 900 race bike.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed to what?
Wipe out. Somebody's going to throw a broom handle in your front wheel.
Totally, guys. This is about building up your skill set, your confidence, right? And guess what? The ICE principle, by the way, works as a building block. So what do I mean? Mm-hmm. When you've done something that's had the greatest impact, it's freed up some time for you. It's gotten you more profitability. It's done a lot of different things. It's gotten you from chaos to control with that one type of work, right? Then your confidence, because you've gotten that out of that little one that you started with, based upon the ICE principle, you've got confidence breeds more what, Rick?
Confidence and momentum and motivation.
You got it. And when you learn something at a basic level, right? When you're riding a tricycle, all of us rode a little freaking tricycle or something like that, right? And we went from the tricycle with the balance wheels on it to all of a sudden no tricycle, one gear, bicycle, that only went so fast and it only had this certain size of tires. And then we got a bike that had 3 gears in it. Then we got a bike that had and so on and so forth, right? We got better and better. And then maybe some of us bought a motorcycle. So the skills that we learned, even from the tricycle, gave us confidence as building blocks to go to the next level, right? So
100%.
Everybody, pick the one right now. Right now. This is about getting shit done. And then we're going to finish off the next 6 minutes here of Rick's going to talk about filtering and why that's so important and where you're going to have to start with that. So I want you to pick right now, which type of work are you going to start breaking down? And remember, you're breaking it down from how the job gets done. So it's almost like reverse engineering to give you how you need to break down how you quote the job. See, a lot of people that try to go, I need to break down how I quote the job, but they don't think about how the job's being ran. This is a paradigm shift, everybody. Paradigm shift means you're probably seeing this in a way you haven't before. So I'll say it again. When you reverse engineer something, when you're trying to solve a problem, one of the best ways of solving a problem is to reverse engineer it. So Stephen Covey says, Rick, start with the end in what?
Mind.
Yeah, start with the end in mind.
Start with the end in mind.
Yeah, guys. So to start with the end in mind, we have to think about, how is this thing going to be fucking used? How is this thing going to be used? What is the details that need to be in this thing such that I could use this, that if we won the job, the team can leverage the information in there and how to manage the job. Okay? So, want you to pick one. Hopefully you've done it right now. Pause this right now. If you're struggling, then guess what? Write them down on a fucking piece of paper. Write down the ICE acronym, right? Greatest impact, greatest confidence, greatest ease. Rate them. So you could put basically on one side all the different types you do. Right across the top, I, C, E. Which one's going to have the greatest impact, confidence, and right ease and effort? Rate each of one of those out of 10, and guess what? Whichever one's got the highest score, fucking that's the one you got to go with. Sounds like a plan, Rick?
Absolutely.
You think we've done this before with, I don't know.
You're already breaking.
Eh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about how you guys price, but you're mentally going through every step of that job already. If you're not, you got to be. So when that job starts, follow the same process, but in reverse, and you should be able to figure this whole thing out. Don't make it any more complicated than it is.
Right.
And for God's sake, slow down. Take your time when you're doing this stuff. Carve out the time to do it properly.
True. All right, Rick, let's talk about filtering. Let's talk about, systemizing your
so
coding.
here's a great visual. So here's a great visual. Picture Rick. This actually happened a long time ago. Get a call. Hey, I want to redo my entire basement washroom. Perfect. I'm on my way. I show up. I'm taking notes. I'm chatting with the guy. I'm building engagement. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. The whole thing. So I got it. So then all of a sudden I got my clipboard out. So all of a sudden I look up and says, by the way, Bob, what's your budget for this whole thing? You know what he said? About $6,000. And I stopped, and it's like, I didn't ask him a very specific question that I should have. And what was that?
You asking me?
What's your budget?
Yep.
Yeah. What's your budget? What's your budget? When people call you, right now you guys should be busier than you ever have been. I mean, it's harvest season right now. And you need to stop and slow down and ask questions to ensure that you are a good fit for this client and the client is a good fit for you.
Yep.
You start with, because it's a relationship, and you can be in a bad relationship for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4, 5, 6 months, days, whatever it is. You need to ask, what is your budget?
Why that question though, Rick? Why is that?
What is your time?
Why is that such an important question?
Well, people don't know what they don't know. If they've never done a renovation before, they don't know. If they've never replaced an electrical panel, like a full service upgrade, they don't know. If they've never had to get their basement finished, they don't know. They don't know these things. So you need to set some expectations, a budget. And if you don't think that applies to contractors, try going down to your local car dealership and saying to the sales rep, I'd like to buy something with 4 wheels. And not giving them any other more detail than that. They will spend no time with you. So you have to give them an expectation of budget. And you can do that over the phone if you wanted to, but you've got to do some kind of filtering process. When we ran the plumbing company, If we had people calling in saying, how much does it cost to do this? How much does it cost to do this? How much does it cost to do that? You know what our filtering process was? Sir, for a standard $89 service, we will come out and have a look and see what the problem was, and that will get you a licensed, insured, and fully qualified plumber to your front door where he can assess the situation and give you pricing on the spot. How much does it cost? For $89, we can have, and I just went through the whole spiel again, and that's what you have to do. Budget, timeline. You could be booked out 6 months down the road, and if they want it done by Halloween, it's not going to happen. You got to let them know that kind of stuff. Dude, what are you looking for in a contractor? What's important to you?
And guys, understand, like if you don't do this, okay, your job, like Rick is saying, your job is to really educate the client. But part of that journey is to make sure that you're being educated on the perspective of your prospect, okay? So if they say it's $5,000 and this job, you know, baseline is going to be $15,000, then that guides you in asking other questions, right? When you start giving some reality to them about it and they start balking, Rick, what do you think is going to happen if you decide to take on the job, even if they signed up for the $15,000 that it should be, and they balked and they balked and they balked? What do you think the relationship's going to be like when you go to collect the money, when you go to try and get
horrible?
The
you're gonna fight the whole way along.
Totally,
it's not going to be fun.
Right.
It's going to be a horrible experience.
And guys,
you can give budget expectations. Easy. Go ahead, Andrew. Sorry.
No, dude. You like, so everybody listening in, like, write down these questions. Write them down. You can, if you're driving right now and you're about to go see a client, or I should say a prospect, in the next 48 hours, you can use this shit. You can go and apply these questions that Rick's gone through, okay? That work, okay? Your job is to become the authority. And one of the best ways to become an authority is to educate the clients. And one of the best ways to educate the clients is know what kind of fucking client that you're dealing with. Otherwise, how can you educate them? Now, by the way, when I'm giggling...
Absolutely.
No, go for it.
Yeah, it's funny, Andrew. Sorry, I was having a conversation with a contractor the other day who does a cost plus building. He builds cost plus, which people don't understand it is just you're going along the whole step of the process, and eventually you come to a final bill, but it keeps escalating.
Yeah.
And then I talked to other people. It's essentially time and material. So I said, he said, well, why shouldn't I be using this? I said, tell you what. I'm going to send you to a restaurant that has a menu with no prices on it, on anything. You're going to have that. You're going to have that meal. You're going to order this. You're going to order that. You're going to, and then after you finish one portion of it, they say, "Well, that's $20." So, okay, well, it's not too bad. And then you order top of the line dinner, and then you come back. It's like, well, your bill's $120 now. And then you keep going on and on and on and on. I said, is that not a recipe for disaster?
Yep.
How much stress does it put you and your client under?
Totally. So Rick,
so you have to give some kind of budget expectation.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Rick, let's wrap this baby up. Right? What would be the one thing that you'd want people to walk away with? Like, just give us a Coles Notes snapshot of, like, guys, if there's one thing that I wanted you to hear from today's call, this is what it would be. What would it be? What we just talked about, or would it be something else, or?
No, I mean, here's the thing. You're entrepreneurs. You walk through that door. You've owned your own business. And unfortunately, that door's closed behind you, and you're never going to go back out of that door. You are here. You got to figure it out. And I'm pleading with you, begging you, please slow down. Know what you're doing. Ask for help. Leverage the community. Stop listening to your buddies. There is no such thing as the going rate. That's the going out of business rate. Slow the process down. ask the questions, ask for help. There is no shame in not knowing. But you got to slow down. Because if you don't slow down, what's going to happen is you've got a giant debt bill dragging behind you that's going to roll you over. You're missing out on so many things by not asking for help. And there's no shame in it. Slow it down. If you don't know, you don't know. But you got to figure this stuff out.
Yeah, that's great advice, dude. That's great advice. And so I love how you segue. I like how you did that in the sense that whichever one of these things, so I'm piggybacking off of you, Rick, whichever one of these things you listen to, pause it. Rick says slow down, literally slow it down. Hit the rewind, hit the pause. Take a note, write it on a piece of paper, type it in your phone, but slow down to gather the info. Don't try and apply all these strategies and tactics that we covered off today. And you might be like, oh, that one's going to work, that one's going to work, that one's going to work. Use the ice analogy, pick the one with the greatest impact, the one that you got the most confidence on, whatever the topic was that we covered off, and the one that's going to be the easiest for you, and that's the one you got to go after, okay? Because not moving forward, and some of you might feel this, you might feel paralyzed. You might feel that you just can't get out of this tornado that you're in. You have the power to stop the tornado. You have the power to slow down. But it's only you that can actually do it. So slow down to, as I say, you're right, Rick, slow down to speed up, baby, right? And seriously, that's what it does. Because when you slow down, you improve things get better, and that allows you to speed things up because of what you learn. Because you slow down enough to get it, okay? So listen, if you want to get help, type in, you want to get some more help, just type in, quoting, the word quoting, and we'll get you some help. We'll get you to engage with, one of our contractor strategists who basically, they know contracting, they know the principles, and they can specifically be put into your shoes to understand your needs and make sure you're getting what you need, not what everybody else needs, what you need. And if you don't do that, at least slow down to speed up using this podcast or someplace else, get help, because doing it alone is the worst thing. And thank you, Rick, dude. You provided amazing value today. And we'll definitely have you back on today. So, and everybody listening in, here's my last thing. If you have more questions, we're watching. We're in the group, okay? We created the group, okay? So if you're asking questions, then we're going to get you fucking answers, okay? But if you don't ask for help and don't, and it's an abundance mindset, the group. When you ask a question, I guarantee you, just like back in fucking high school, public school, college, whatever, when that one person raises their hand, there's like 80% of the people in the room going, fuck, I had the same question, right? You're not alone. Don't act like you're alone. We'll see you guys on the flip side. Here's another No Bullshit podcast, and let us know how we can help, and hopefully this was helpful. See you later, guys. Ciao. Hey, Rockstar, I hope that you enjoyed that one. I mean, if you did like this podcast, leave a review, leave a comment. This will help us a lot to keep you bringing the gold, allowing you to delegate, dominate, and deliver so you can take your contracting business to the next level. Now, make sure you subscribe, get the latest teachings and insights, and we will see you back here for another No Bullshit podcast. No, seriously, no bullshit.